Okay, let's see now. Yes, it works. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. I just streamed it a couple of minutes ago, but the frames are dropping, huh? But now I closed down OBS and then I want to open it. It was an update, so I thought, oh, maybe because of the new update, I'll try it again. It goes up and down, so I was like, okay, let's try it to 30 frames then. Except, not 60 but 30. So now for the past 4 minutes, it's all on the green and 0% dropping frames. So at the moment it's going with 30, not 60 at the moment. I don't know why, but yeah, that's why today it's not a good start. But today we do something else. Today I'm going to react on the World Rally Championship 1994 because I'm a rally fan and yeah, I want to do that. So let's try that. Dus, ja, het gaat nog altijd. Goedenavond allemaal, welkom op een nieuwe stream, opnieuw. Ik heb er net al wat geprobeerd te streamen, maar het ging niet. Want de frames gingen van hot naar daar en het ging totaal niet. Ik ben dan maar gestopt. OBS afgesloten en toen wou ik terug opstarten, dus toen stond erop voor een update. En dan heb ik dat gedaan, opnieuw geprobeerd, ging het nog niet. Je denkt van oei, wat nu? Wat heb ik nu gedaan? Het lijkt er nu toch op te gaan. Ik heb nu mijn FPS veranderd van 60 naar 30 en nu tot nu toe 0% gedropte frames. Dus laten we hopen dat het de hele stream zo is, hè? Want ja, een slechte stream liever niet, hè? Dan maar geen stream. Dus ja, laten we het gewoon doen. Huh? Okay, so here we go again. Okay, it's yeah. Okay, I close it off, but that's okay. Let's do this real quick. I'm very sorry, but yeah, voila. Yeah, and here we go.
The opening round of the championship was the Monte Carlo
Not
round.
drop now.
See Francois
Damn it.
trying to avenge his previous defeats of 1991 and 1993, and the battle of 1994 commenced as Johan Kankkunen blasted into view. But Kankkunen's first day was punctuated by dramas. He had a spin on the Berzé stage, and that was caused as a result of trying to avoid spectators stood in the middle of the road.
Yeah, that's not good.
Carlos Sainz was having his first outing in the Subaru.
Okay, well, this car is one of the best one, personally for me. Subaru, especially with that voice, no. The sound of the engine and the exhaust and all that. Very nice sound. It's one of the best sounding Subarus they have ever made. The later ones were also good, but this one is really good with sound. Deze qua geluid is altijd de beste Subaru, vind ik persoonlijk. In de toekomst waren er ook wel mooie bij natuurlijk, maar deze heeft wel altijd het beste geluid, vind ik persoonlijk. En sorry dat ik continu kijk, maar tot nu toe gaat het nog goed, dus gelukkig maar. And I'm very sorry that I'm constantly looking at that, but I just want to make sure that everything is fine. So far so good, so I'm very sorry. I'm really doing my best. I really want to do this stream, so yeah, ik wil deze stream echt doen, dus oké, let's continue. Laten we verder gaan.
Started slowly as he came to grips with his new mount, the car bouncing around a lot, and the ride height was raised as a result. That created the problems, and the Spaniard moved up to second place. Frenchman Didier Auriol snatched the lead of the rally, having set fast times all morning, but he was helped by problems hitting others early in the day. And the Frenchman's lead was short-lived, but 4 stages into the rally, there was no stopping him.
Aye.
Ford's hopes were high. The Escort Cosworth well suited to the
Okay, you know what? I am not a big Ford fan, but I like this. I like the car actually. It's not bad. It's a nice design, everything. Again, in the future with the Ford Focus, also pretty nice. But I like this one better actually. Why, I don't know, but still, I like older cars. Deze Ford, ik ben niet echt zo'n Ford van. De Ford Focus bijvoorbeeld, naar de toekomst toe, hè. Vind ik ook wel niet slecht, maar deze vind ik toch persoonlijk mooier. Waarom, weet ik niet, maar ik heb nu eenmaal graag oldtimers.
Biaggion was quick enough as his Escort slipped to the bottom half of the top 6. The Italian describing life as hard but nice.
Hard but nice.
But the main talk of the opening day was of Armin Schwarz, who had grabbed the lead on the very first stage and was soon ahead of the opposition by some 30 seconds. But then on the Berzé stage, the third test of the rally, he was caught out by snow thrown onto the road by the spectators.
No, niet goed
That
hè.
rendered his
Not
notes
good.
made by the ice crew absolutely useless and dangerous as well. He plunged off the road and dropped to 66th position.
Goh.
Francois Delacour, meanwhile, was moving up the order. He admitted to making mistakes on the opening day, but soon found himself in the lead of the rally.
Good.
Colin McRae again showed his tremendous pace in the second of the ProDrive prepared Subaru Imprezas, but like Armin Schwarz, he was caught out by the snow hurled onto the Berzé stage. The spectators were then reluctant to help him back onto the road. Colin lost nearly 30 minutes and fell to 164th of 166 cars.
Jesus.
Bruno Thierry
What
was
a
driving
drop.
an Escort Cosworth and a four-wheel drive car as well
Yeah,
for the first
the
time,
damage.
and he was soon well inside the top 10 on the opening
Ay,
day.
ay, ay.
But Juha Kankkunen and Nicky Grist's Toyota certainly was now showing the signs of damage. All
Yeah,
that was the
my.
result of the spin on the Berzé stage, and there were a number of very angry drivers, all angry about the spectators' behaviour,
Yeah,
piling
they're
snow
right.
onto the stages and making them needlessly dangerous. In particular, Armin Schwarz was a very cross man.
Ja, volop gelijk. Want er zijn er een paar die boos zijn, hè. De rallyrijders door het gedrag van de toeschouwers, hè. Toeschouwers, ja, ze hebben gelijk. Dus dat kan zomaar niet, hè.
Fantastic until one corner, and there was some snow on the road, which we had in the notes. So the ice note was perfect written, but there was no snow written. So we went over a bank, and we lost 20 minutes there.
But there would be worse luck for Didier Auriol as he crashed out of the rally on the opening day.
Ah,
No
ja, ja,
points for
ja.
the Frenchman
He's
from
out.
Monte Carlo.
Hij is eruit, ja, die
The
Oriol.
second leg of the rally ran around Grenoble, and it saw Delacour run first
Grenoble.
on the road. And while he had to worry about road conditions, the team were also concerned that the gastroenteritis that co-driver Daniel Gratelou was suffering from was infectious. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, and Delacour's lead steadily increased over Juha Kankkunen. He'd moved up to second place despite being some 15 seconds slower than Delacour on the opening stage of the day. Slipping to third was a blow for Carlos Sainz, but he felt that a smooth rally learning about the car would be more beneficial than making constant changes to try to improve the Impreza.
Yeah,
After his
slim.
disappointment in the Lancia last year, this was the sights of old. Mickey Biazion was now fourth in his Ford Escort, and he was certainly being overshadowed by his teammate. The Italian former world champion was having a steady drive, but blamed a lack of power for his unspectacular progress. Bruno Thierry, meanwhile, was now fifth, getting to grips very quickly with his RAS-prepared Ford Escort. Kenneth Eriksson was a disappointed sixth, having made a wrong choice of tyre on the opening day, and then on day two, both Mitsubishi Lancers had belts break in the rear suspension on the very first test. Jean Ragnotti, in his Renault Clio Williams, was having a battle royal with his teammate Alain Orai in Formula 2, the 2-litre two-wheel drive category. Orai soon moving into the lead by 13 seconds. But with the car so evenly matched, this promised to be a battle that would go all the way to the finish, the Renaults being 7th and 8th respectively. Ninth now was Armin Schwarz after his horrendous first day, but still he was troubled by suspension breakages and a snapped rear drive shaft, meaning that the German had to tackle stage 8 with only two-wheel drive.
Oh, two-wheel drive.
And Colin McRae continued to fight his way back up the
minder.
order, now 41st from 164th, and while he was still an awful long way adrift, he had time enough left to claw his way back up the field, assuming that the spectators didn't interfere with his progress again.
Ja, my.
The final day and the famous stages on the Col Turini.
Golden Turini.
Delacour was leading, and this year he was going to win. Helped by fast delivery of pace notes from co-driver Daniel Gratelou, Francois Delacour was able to avenge his defeats of 1991 and 1993. He admitted to being very nervous on the final leg of the rally, and despite brake problems on the Col Turini, he had a commanding lead and he wasn't going to be beaten. Juha Kankkunen moved up to second on the second leg of the rally and stayed there. He and co-driver Nicky Grist pressed on for all they were worth, but they weren't quite able to make up that time lost early in the rally. Delacour's gap by then was too big, and Kankkunen was happy to settle for second place and suddenly put points on the board, which may well stand him in good stead for the rest of the season. Carlos Sainz had impressed many on his first outing in the Subaru Impreza. He wasn't driving at 10/10ths, but he was happy nonetheless to finish in the top three and his first outing for ProDrive. An exclusive Subaru and Pirelli tyre deal should help them for the rest of the season, and the whole team were optimistic. Mickey Biazion settled into fourth early on in the rally and never improved. He wasn't helped by a lack of power, and he wasn't helped either by being overshadowed so convincingly by his teammate. The frustrated
Sure.
Italian was fourth at the finish. Bruno Thierry should by rights have finished in fifth, but then came disaster on the last stage of the rally when he was beaten by just 1 second by this man, Kenneth Eriksson.
1 second.
He'd pushed hard all rally, but although the car lacked the pace of the other factory efforts, Eriksson had driven splendidly to move up just on the last stage of the rally. The second of the Lancers, that of Armin Schwarz, finished in 7th place, the young German having dominated the final stages of the rally. He'd been fastest on the 4 final tests of the event and reminded people, if they needed reminding at all, of his obvious pace. All he needs now is a little luck to go with him. Group N went the way of Pierre-Manuel Jeannot, co-driven by the pseudonym Slow, with their Ford Escort RS Cosworth. Indeed, Ford had a good rally, 2nd place in Group N going to the Spanish driver Jesus Puras. He, unlike Jeannot, would do a full season in the Group N category, and this helped him no end in his championship hopes. Group N would be well supported on some rallies and poorly supported on others. But Puras was on target for a very successful season.
Ah, the Lancia Delta Integrale, huh? What a nice car is it, huh?
Group N would be well supported on some rallies.
Oh, hier. Dat is een mooie auto, hè? Lancia Delta Integrale. I really like that car too. Heel mooie auto, vind ik wel heel leuk. Echt nice.
In the right hands. Good to see. Welcome variety. Colin McRae would eventually finish in 10th place, having battled his way up from 164th on the opening day. Surely some sort of a record.
Ja, wat voor een record.
With McRae winning in New Zealand last year, he's keen to make more wins in the World Rally Championship in 1994. Another big cheer was reserved for the Monegasque driver Frank Phillips with his Ford Escort Cosworth. He had a conservative run to a good finish. Jean Ragnotti won Formula 2, the only surviving Renault Clio Williams by the finish, despite Ragnotti's car running on 3 cylinders for much of the final day.
Yes,
a winner here in 1981 in a Renault 5 Turbo, Ragnotti was as ever tremendously popular with the spectators, but a number of teams had had a lot of damage to repair during the course of the 1994 Monte Carlo Rally.
Aye, that's pretty bad. I hope the radiator is not too damaged. Hopelijk ze redden het uit.
And so victory went to François Delacour and his co-driver Daniel Gratelou,
a reserved
victory having come so close twice in the past. Their Ford Escort Cosworth won from Juha Kankkunen in 2nd and Carlos Sainz new to Subaru in 3rd.
Good start of the season. Goed begin van het seizoen.
While Kenneth Eriksson was the leading Mitsubishi driver in 5th. And inspired
by Bruno and Stefan, België. They're a Belgian like me. Good.
Rounding out the top 10 at the end of the first round of the championship.
Voila,
Having won
nice.
Monte Carlo, François Delacour went to Portugal on a high. He was leading the championship and he was now regarded as the fastest driver on asphalt. That would help him on the opening stages as we go on board in the Escort with Delacour and Gratelou. The Frenchman was immediately on the pace, winning 8 of the first 11 stages, leading by some 4 seconds at the end of the opening day.
100 mètres, 230 intérieur à fond, 230 intérieur à fond, 100 mètres, 195 long, 195 long.
Juha Kankkunen couldn't quite match Delacour's pace on day 1, although he knew that despite being caught by Mickey Biasion, Kankkunen would have an advantage when the rally hit gravel.
Ja, maar Delacour is een asfaltspecialist, hè? En Juha Kankkunen minder, dus daarmee dat het niet zo gemakkelijk gaat voor het moment. But Delacour is an asphalt specialist and Juha Kankkunen not so that's why it's not that easy for Kankkunen to catch Delacour.
Admitted he needed to go harder to catch the tarmac kings ahead. Andrea Raghini, run by the Italian Grifoni team, was driving the car that Didier Auriol used last year in Argentina.
And Auriol is also asphalt specialist.
On the opening stages, spectacular for the fans to look at.
En Didier Auriol is ook een asphalt specialist dus.
Carlos Sainz had a trying morning. He spun 200 meters before the end of a stage and had to reverse over the line at great speed, frightening spectators and marshals as he did so.
Ooh.
Bruno Thierry was still learning about the Ford Escort, but felt a bit happier here on the dry tarmac. And Colin McRae was regularly trading stage times with his teammate Carlos Sainz. At service on the opening day, François Delacour had a good lead.
Goed zo,
He'd
nice.
been virtually uncatchable in the morning, and he was in relaxed mood as the Ford team set to work on the Escort. The opposition would come from Kankkunen, but for now the Frenchman looked like making it 2 in a row.
It's okay. At the moment I am leading, then everything is alright. But I have only 30 seconds in front of Konkunen, about 30, and Mickey the same. And the car is. I have a very good feeling with the car, of course, because I am leading, and I have also the good feeling with the S22. I had only a little problem in the 5th special stage with the tire was completely destroyed at the end.
Sorry.
I think we were
Even gaan checken.
very fast.
No, it looks good. Yes, the weather is nice and stages are okay. A bit still slippery because it was raining so early that bring a lot of mud and gravel on the road. But we have good guys in front of us to marking the places, so no problems so far.
Francois had a few tyre problems, wore one down to the canvas. Did you have any problems?
Not really. I mean, they have been working well.
Having lost those 30 seconds or so with his punctures, Delacour was determined to make up time as the rally headed for the super special stage of the Osaka rallycross circuit.
Okay.
Here, cars in pairs were pitted head-to-head and against the clock. Delacour was up against his teammate Mickey Biasion. This stage was designed more for the spectators than any sort of competitive mileage for the drivers, but sadly it was to be Delacour's undoing. Both he and Biasion were very spectacular as they flung the Escort around the tight and twisty circuit, although Delacour knew he had to go for it to try and open up his lead. And then it all went horribly quiet inside the Escort.
Oh no.
The 2-litre turbo car had dropped a valve and Delacour's rally was over.
Shit. Ja, motorstuk, dat is minder. Ah.
That left Mickey Biasion as the leading Ford driver, but on gravel he was going to be no match for Kankkunen and would fall back, while Delacour was bitterly disappointed and out of the rally.
Dat is minder, ja. Dat is niet goed.
Biasion
spijtig.
went as hard as he could. He was very worried about the way that Kankkunen was flying. With Ford's hopes resting on Biasion's shoulders, he never backed off for a minute, but the recognised gravel rally maestro Kankkunen was soon through and into the lead. His only opposition would have come from Delacour. With the Frenchman out of the event, Kankkunen now had things all his own way. From one stage to the next, his lead increased and Biasion was left trailing in the Finn's wake. Andrea Raghini crashed out on the Fafat stage, having gone off earlier on in the day as well. He was okay, but the car was badly damaged, and the Italians' rally came to a sudden halt.
Dat was ook niet goed aan.
It had been over 12 months since Didier Auriol had last won a round of the World Rally Championship, and that was starting to concern him, and also some insiders at the Toyota team. The car was perfect here, but he found himself unable to do the times, and at a loss to explain why. Meanwhile, Carlos Sainz was continuing his learning process about his new for 94 mount, the Subaru Impreza. As he became more familiar with the car, he got quicker, but he was still a little concerned about the gap between the Subaru and the Toyota. There was still more to come from the Impreza, he reckoned. Bruno Thierry crashed out on day 2, damaging the radiator too severely to continue on what had been his first gravel rally with the RAS Escort, while Colin McRae was as fast and spectacular as ever, co-driven by fellow Scot.
Yeah, he was. One of the best drivers ever. Hij was een van de rallyrijders van de sport hoor, echt waar.
In Portugal, the crowds were enormous, but this year crowd safety and crowd discipline was far better than in previous years. At last, it seems they're getting the message.
A lot of people, ja. Veel mensen daar. Kijk eens aan.
Behind the four-wheel drive supercars came the Formula 2 battle. Portuguese driver Jose Carlos Macedo took an early lead on asphalt, but then he had to change the suspension settings. He lost the Formula 2 lead to this man, Tommy Mäkinen. He then suffered gearbox problems.
Juist, ja.
With an overheating engine, he had no time to service the car. He carried on until the engine eventually
Tommy Mäkinen was toen nog met dingen, met Nissan, juist.
That gave Macedo the lead
He was with Nissan then, back in the day.
Cheers. Also in the Formula 2 battle was Gregoire de Mavius, although the Belgian ex-Nissan driver admitted to still feeling his way in with the new car.
Not a Belgian.
He retired from third place in the Formula 2 battle on the third day with transmission failure. In Group N, the battle for showroom specification cars, Mohammed bin Sulayem took a height record at the Lusada Super Special stage, although when he landed, he damaged the engine. That led to retirement a few stages later. Fernando Perez, the local driver with his Group A escort, was up to a fine 5th overall. And Colin McRae continued to impress.
Look at him go. Kijk hem gaan, ja. Goh.
All the time, until on special stage 25 he would go out of the rally. Midway through the tight and sinuous stage, the car had an electrical fire, and that was the end of McRae's hopes.
Oh yeah.
With the flames already coming out from under the bonnet, McRae, undaunted, carried on, until eventually there was no return.
Ja, kun je niet veel tegen doen. Goh. Ja, voorbij.
McRae and Wingert looked for somewhere to park, and then ran for it.
Oh ja,
Once
kijk
again,
eens.
Colin had shown his obvious pace. All the Subaru team wanted now was some more reliability.
Nou.
Jörg Kankkunen then went on to win, and not only did he take victory in Portugal, he also moved into the lead of the World Championship. All in all, a good weekend for the Finn and Toyota. It was a 1-2 for the Castrol Baxilikas as the Frenchman Didier Auriol moved through into second place. Mickey Biazion was down in third. He just wasn't quite quick enough on the gravel stages. He knew that gave the advantage to the Toyota team. Carlos Sainz finished in fourth, second now in the championship with Biazion, but he still needed more time in the car, while Jose Carlos Macedo with his battered Renault won the Formula 2 battle after the opposition faltered. Group N was won by the Spaniard Jesus Puras. He finished 8th overall, while second in Formula 2 went to Pavel Cebera with the little 1300cc Skoda, some 25 minutes behind Macedo.
Okay.
Toyota's first and second, with Biazion third for Ford. Then Sainz and Perez a splendid 5th at the end of the second round of the championship. Kankkunen now led with Sainz and Biazion tying for second. Delacour was 4th ahead of Auriol, Ericsson and Perez now tying for 6th.
It's going down real fast, Delacour.
Delacour
gaat snel naar beneden in de rangschikking.
All jointly led Formula 2. The third round of the championship was the 42nd Safari Rally.
One of my favorite rallies.
Picturesque event in the season. Jörg Kankkunen headed a
Een van mijn
strong
favoriete
Toyota
rallies.
squad, and he led on the opening wet and dry day. Sadly though, he would crash out. His first major accident in 3 years of rallying. Immediately, the Toyota squad became weakened. Backing up Kankkunen had been Ian Duncan and Safari version Didier Auriol. Ian Duncan is recognised as the Toyota's test driver. He was included in the lineup at the last minute, and it turned out to be a very good decision. The Nairobi resident moved into the lead after Kankkunen's demise.
Ja, he's got experience, hè. Hij heeft daar ervaring, hè.
With his local knowledge being put to good use, Duncan immediately opened up his advantage over the rest of the field.
Exactly.
As though Toyota would score a victory here after all. Kenjiro Shinazuka excels on these long, tough events with the sole Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. He had no problems on the opening day, but just couldn't quite live with the pace of the Toyotas. He knew, though, that if the world's best in Kankkunen were fallible, then so too possibly was Ian Duncan. Shinazuka therefore settled into a smooth and consistent pace and waited for the dramas to afflict the rally leader. Also representing Japanese manufacturers, Richard Burns was here for Subaru, competing on his first Safari Rally.
Yeah,
he had
Richard
a Group N
Burns.
specification in Impreza, and he took an early lead in Group N on the opening day. He then had brake failure. That led to an accident, and he lost some 21 minutes through damage. Didier Auriol was also on his first Safari Rally. He broke the front shock absorbers and the steering on day one. And amazingly, he lost over 1 hour after the first competitive section of the event.
An hour? Een uur. Ja, oké dan.
Up front though, Duncan was still leading, despite having lost time early on day 2 with a broken drive shaft. He then hit an Impala. That damaged the bodywork, but nothing mechanical.
Okay, good. Keep going. Blijven gaan, joh. Oei, oei.
The car continued with its bodywork hanging off.
Ja.
But thankfully, the engine hadn't been hurt at all.
Good.
As he pressed on, he extended his lead over Shinazuka. He doubled it indeed by the end of the day, and victory for the Flying Sausage looked certain. Shinazuka was now up into second place, but unable to catch the flying Toyota. He then lost time himself with a
No helmets, you saw that?
suspension arm, but he remained far enough ahead of. He then lost. Shinazuka was now
Geen
up into
helmen,
second
zie je
place,
dat?
but
Of wel?
unable to catch the
Jawel.
flying Toyota. He then
Ja,
lost time
al
himself with a broken front
Ja, dat hoorde
suspension
deze, hè.
arm,
Dat
but
waren
he
de tijden
remained
toen,
far
hè.
enough ahead
Heel
of
anders
Didier
als nu.
Auriol in that second place
Yeah, you
spot
see that?
down
No
the stretch.
helmet.
Local
Okay.
driver Patrick Njuru moved into the lead of Group N after Burns'
Geen
accident,
helmen.
but suffered from punctures and then lost 16 minutes when he badly bent an engine crossmember on the bumpiest section of the route. Didier Auriol had more troubles on the final day when the front struts needed changing on the Toyota Celica. Nonetheless, he'd scored points and he'd finished, and that was going to be vital on the end of the
They're
season.
helping them. Nice.
As ever, the locals were out in force and showing great interest in their local rally, which
Oh,
certainly won't
Odie.
be around
Oh,
at the
yeah.
championship in 1995. Rudi Stoll, another stalwart of African rallies, with a very strong car, suffered from punctures and engine management
Oh, yeah.
system problems on the last day.
S2 or
So
A2.
too did a broken
A2
oil
of
cooler
S3.
after he
Oh
crashed
dear.
off the road in a dust cloud. The final service halt before the finish.
Ja, S2
Ian
denk ik,
Duncan's
ja.
Flying Sausage Toyota,
De Flying
with its battle
Sausage.
scar, is now virtually assured of victory.
Oh ja.
The Toyota mechanic set to work on a car that had managed to see off the best of the local opposition and also humbled some of the world's best drivers. Even in this remote location, the legendary Team Toyota Europe mechanics were able to display their ability, and do so, it seems, for the final time, as Toyota won't be returning in 1995, something unthinkable to the locals. For now, though, Ian Duncan looked assured of victory after a hard morning.
On not this section, the one before we hit an Impala, but it jumped out of our bushes. There's nothing to do, but it didn't damage anything at all. So, just a wing, and so that was quite lucky at least.
Unlike last year, then you haven't actually lost a great deal of time,
No, nothing at all. We didn't lose any time because of that.
and you're still in front of the Mitsubishi by how long? Do you know?
I'm not so sure. I don't know about this section, but on the other one, I think we had another 1 minute on him, but I'm not 100%.
Have the road surface and the road conditions been very similar to the Recce, or are they in fact drier?
Okay, it's really dry at the moment, but then it's a little bit rougher than it was because it has rained in the middle of it. So.
Are you going as fast as you can, or is there some more left if necessary?
There should be some more left. I mean, the last thing we want to do is damage anything or get a puncture, so we just go as quick and safely as possible.
Yeah,
Hopefully
smart.
we'll see you tomorrow afternoon, first local driver to win in 12 years.
Well, I hope so.
One man who certainly was pressing on was Didier Auriol. He wanted that second place away from Shinazuka, although as the rally neared its completion, that looked untenable. This has certainly been a different sort of event for the Frenchman compared to the rest of the World Rally Championship calendar.
Ja, tough event, hè. Tough event.
He could
Moeilijke,
console himself if he needed to with the fact that
moeilijke
his
rally.
experienced teammate Johan Kankkunen had failed to complete even the first day. While here was Auriol on a rally he hardly knows, being able to battle his way through to a fine third place at the finish. Comparing this to the cold weather of the RAC rally at the end of the season, it really was going to be a season of many contrasts. The
No.
Michelin tyre technicians checked the tyres, ready for the continuation of the car's progress in the afternoon. They were happy with them, and by and large, Auriol was happy with how things were going as well.
No, I don't think. I have tried to drive a little more harder in the last one, and I got the shock of about 10 kilometers to the finish. So I lose 3-4 minutes, and I have to catch him. So
Over the last 2 days, because of your problems on the first day, you lost quite a bit of time in the dust. Have you had problems with dust today?
no, not today. Not today. It's okay.
And you don't actually think that you'll be able to catch Shinazuka before the finish then?
No, because the problem, maybe if I drive really fast, I can, but I broken everything always. So now I think I just drive.
So you're just going for a third place and a finish then?
Yes, and wait. Yes.
And that's how it did finish. Victory going to Ian Duncan
Yep.
and Dave Williamson, ahead of Shinazuka
Okay.
and Auriol in third. Patrick Njuru took fourth place and won Group N. But there was no doubting the hero of the local crowd. Ian Duncan winning a World Championship event for the first time.
Good.
Kankkunen still led the championship. Auriol was now second with Bianchi
Nog
on
wel,
Sainz
ja.
tying for third. In the manufacturers' battle, it was Toyota all the way, Subaru and Ford squabbling over second.
Ja, Toyota is dominating. Hopla. Oké. Corsica. Goed.
The 38th Tour of Corsica was run in the shadow of the death of the Formula 1 world champion Ayrton Senna. It
Ja.
was also run in the shadow of François Delacour being absent after a serious road accident in a friend's Ferrari F40, which effectively put him out of the season.
Oei, oei, oei.
Jörg Kankkunen was eager to make
Oh.
up for his Safari disappointment and to take a 5th world crown. Mickey Biasion was now left to uphold Ford honour. He had a brand new car, but brake problems on the opening day slowed his progress. There was no doubting, though, that the Ford Escort Cosworth on tarmac remained a very spectacular car. The leading Subaru driver was Carlos Sainz. He still needed more time in the car, but he was also now concerned that he needed more speed. He was, however, the only opposition to Didier Auriol on the opening day, Sainz hurling the Impreza around in his inimitable fashion. Auriol is the master of Corsica. He'd had no win for 12 months, but it looked as though that was now all going to change. He
Ja,
took
I
the
guess
lead
so
early
too.
on the first day and never lost
Denk
it.
het ook.
Bruno Thierry was here as ever with his semi-worked RAS prepared Ford Escort Cosworth, although he had a damaged gearbox on day 2 and as a result lost a lot of time. And as for Colin McRae, well, as ever, he was fast, on the limit, and hardly any caution at all being demonstrated. A puncture didn't force him to lift, but when he had a second blow out of the rear of the car, the Subaru was spat from the road, and the damage was too great for him to continue.
Ja, too bad. Spijtig.
They
Dat is
soon
jammer.
he had to
Ja.
retire from the event, but doubts were being raised about his continuing place in the team. Once again, Andrea Raghini made it onto the World Championship stage. He was run by the Grifoni team and able to run at a consistent pace. Last year's Sanremo winner, Franco Cunico, was driving an ex-Delacour Portugal Escort, and he had a good opening day. Especially after the problems for Thierry, it was expected that Cunico would rise up the order. No surprises in Formula
Easy
2.
now.
A Renault
Woo.
Clio Williams was leading, and Jean Ragnotti was the driver. He was going to have his work cut out here, though, as among the competition was Philippe Bugalski, his car running with a semi-automatic gearbox.
Oh,
But this,
oei,
the
oei,
sad
oei,
side of the
oei.
day. Colin McRae with a battered car on 3 wheels, limping out of the rally.
Yeah, that's too bad. Dat is jammer, maar ja, dat, oh ja, look
The
at that
second
roof.
day would take the cars to some of the most
Amai,
spectacular
dat
stages.
dak
It
is
was hardly as straight to speak
speciaal.
of. It was going to be action and hard work
Ja.
for the drivers all the way. Auriol took 41 seconds off the previous year's record on stage 20 and looked untouchable, with only Sainz to worry about. The Spaniard was pushing as hard as he could, but the gap was too great, and the Subaru just didn't have the pace of the Toyota. Andrea Raghini was running 3rd overall ahead of Kankkunen. The Finn was in 4th place, but after Franco Cunico had crashed out, he had hit a wall.
Oef,
Ford
ja.
Escort was very badly damaged and
Oh.
out of the rally, and there were immediately concerns over the spectators' safety. Thankfully,
Yeah.
all involved were okay, but as it took Cunico out of the rally, it left Biasion to uphold Ford's fortunes.
Ja, too bad. Dat is jammer.
On the 3rd day, Auriol had clutch problems. He discovered that the clutch itself had lots of oil on it. With no time to change it, the mechanics had to clean the oil off it, but that was enough to keep him in the rally and keep him in the lead. A contrast from the Safari rally to Corsica, but once again the Team Toyota Europe mechanics were equal to the job.
Ja,
With hardly any loss of time, they were able to get the
They're
Toyota
doing a
Celica
good
back
job.
into a competitive frame and send Auriol back onto the rally.
ja, ze doen wel
Seemed to
werk
be
goed
feeling the
daar
strain.
bij Toyota.
For the Subaru team, Carlos Sainz was happy to be in 2nd place, but disappointed he just couldn't catch the Frenchman. He would set off onto the final day stages, eager to try and close that gap, and fully aware
Yeah,
that
nice
Auriol
car.
having those
What a
clutch
car,
problems,
man.
the Toyota may conceivably retire. Ford were extremely disappointed with the demise of Franco Cunico, especially as once again Mickey Biasion didn't seem to have anything to offer the opposition. The former double world champion had been quick, but hardly on the pace of the regular rally frontrunners all season long.
No.
And Bruno Thierry, having lost time with that damaged gearbox, was now having to find his
Go,
way
go,
back
Bruno.
up the order. The Belgian driver was impressing many though, in this his first full season in the World Rally Championship, and his first year with a four-wheel drive turbo car, while Jean Ragnotti was the comfortable and confident Formula 2 leader.
Ja, but you will know.
Ragnotti, the man who'd won the 1981 Monte Carlo Rally, co-driven by Gilles Demunier, about to set off the afternoon stages, a Formula 2 victory looked as though it was just around the corner. Despite those clutch problems for Didier Auriol, he was able to hang on to that lead and score his first victory on the championship for over 12 months. It did his confidence a lot of good, and it also moved him into the lead of the championship.
Yep, good.
Having come so close in 1992, people were now wondering whether Auriol could possibly steal the 1994 championship.
Yeah, who knows that? Who knows? Wie weet.
Auriol's only opposition all rally long had been Carlos Sainz with the Subaru Impreza. The Spaniard knew he had a chance when Auriol hit trouble, but then Carlos had an anti-roll bar shear at the front left-hand end, and that made the car virtually undrivable. As if that wasn't bad enough, it happened near the start of the longest stage of the rally. It meant that Sainz had to be content with second position. In a safe and very impressive third place was Andrea Raghini with his Grifoni-run Toyota Celica. It had been a very impressive performance by him, running at a smooth, rapid and consistent pace all through the rally, and he was not only humbling teammate Jörg Kankkunen, but also being able to stay ahead of all the works escorts. All involved were understandably delighted with the pace of Raghini in the private Celica. Jörg Kankkunen had had a subdued opening day. He lost time, which eventually he couldn't claw back. Indeed, this was going to become something of a habit for Kankkunen, losing time on an opening day when he was being rather conservative.
Tarmac.
As the season progressed, it became obvious that everybody had to attack right from the first day. But here Kankkunen failed to do so, and he lost his lead in the championship, finishing 4th overall. Mickey Biaggion suffered major brake problems on the second day of the rally, the pedal getting straight to the floor, which didn't really inspire confidence. Ford were amazed that they should have been fighting for a victory, but in truth they were looking at only 5th place.
Yeah.
The Italian would finish a mere 6 seconds ahead of Bruno Thierry. And don't forget that Thierry had damaged the gearbox midway through the event. The Belgian driver had continued to impress people.
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
The healthier car was 5th, Thierry was 6th, but Ford were understandably disappointed. Who knows what may have happened had Delacour been able to compete. In 7th place was another escort, that driven by Patrick Bernardini, a local driver with a Jakobat car, keeping his cool all rally long. Being cheered on by the crowds, he was happy to finish so well up. No surprises in Formula 2. The category was won by Jean Ragnotti and Gilles Demunier with their Renault Clio Williams. This car runs with a conventional gearbox, unlike his teammate Philippe Bugalski, whose semi-automatic car had slipped right down the order early on. There was slight concern on the final day when Ragnotti's Clio developed a slight fuel leak. He was able to hang on though and score victory in Formula 2. He won from another Renault.
Whoa, that's close, huh? Almost stick there.
Overall, Jordan and others run with a conventional gearbox. Group N was once again won by the Spaniard Jesus Puras, who now moved into the lead of the Group N Championship. And second place went to Mohamed bin Solayem, more normally seen in Gulf rallies.
Okay.
Auriol the winner, Sainz and Nagini with Kankkunen 4th and Mickey Biaggion's Ford Escort in 5th place. So Auriol won for the first time in over a year and led the championship.
No, I think it's not an easy rally, and before the start of this race I say that maybe Carlos Sainz can be the challenger here, and it's not a mistake what I think, because Carlos pushed me always during this 3 days, and I have need to drive really fast and really big attack for try to control him.
it's nice to have this victory here because now it's 1 year and 4 months, I think, then I have no victory, and maybe for the future of the season we are first in the championship conductor. So it's good, but the season it's long, and now we must appreciate this victory, and we think now globally.
Turned out to be a very disappointing event for Oriole. The first car on the road, though, was Mickey
Oh, yeah.
with his Ford Escort Cosworth, using a sequential gearbox for the first time.
Yeah, first one on the road.
The Italian admitted, however,
Not
to
so
many
good.
missed gears. As he came to terms with the car and its new gearbox, he would retire with a broken engine.
No. Aye aye. Oh, what a dust.
Didier Oriole, the championship leader, was immediately quick on day one, but on the second day of the event, he smashed the car's sump on a rock and he was out, losing the championship lead as he did so.
Yeah, too bad. That's niet zo goed, hè?
This was the last thing that the French driver needed, particularly with Carlos Sainz and Juha Kankkunen, his nearest opposition in the championship race, getting quicker and quicker round by round. Sainz himself was worried that the front crossmember was loose on the Subaru Impreza. The team checked it and sent him back onto the event. Once happy, he mounted his attack.
He's going for it, huh? Hij gaat ervoor.
Back to the championship came the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolutions, this car driven by Kenneth Eriksson. He had an awful opening day, however, breaking 4 drive shafts.
Oh, that's a lot. Amai. Dat begint goed. Whew.
New to the championship for '94 was Malcolm Wilson, the British ace, fitting in a number of World Championship outings around a successful British campaign. He had a spin and then failed wipers at a water splash during the course of the day.
There
It
goes
all
the
left his
bumper.
Escort looking a little tarnished. For the first time in a relatively long while, Juha Kankkunen had a low starting number. He was number 6 and was therefore being helped on the opening day by those cars ahead sweeping the stages clean for him. Stones smashed the blades off the cooling fans on day 1, losing him time, but by and large the Finn was happy. Colin McRae was incredibly quick and held the lead by 43 seconds at the end of day 1. He even backed off to try and conserve the car, Colin being quickest on 7 of the day's 10 stages. The second of the Mitsubishis was driven by the young German driver Armin Schwarz, keen to remind all concerned how well he had gone in Monte Carlo, but the rear suspension units collapsed and he struggled to stay in the top 10 on the opening day of the event. It was good to see Ari Vatanen returning to the championship, his privateer Escort Cosworth run by Schmidt Motorsport. He was
also a good driver,
and together
Ari
they won
Vatanen,
the last
also
2
very
stages
good.
of the first day.
Ook een hele goeie. Red Bull, mij, toen al.
Up front, Colin McRae looked safe on day 2, despite being first on the road and therefore having to sweep the stages. But then came trouble. After the FIA scrutineers had checked the engine, the bonnet wasn't fastened properly. It flew open and smashed the screen. He checked in at the next time control before having it replaced. Not wanting to sacrifice his position on the road, the young Scotsman blocked the stage for 29 minutes. For his pains, he was given nearly 15 minutes in road penalties.
Oh. That's not the best decision, I'm afraid.
Teammate Carlos Sainz had briefly slipped behind Didier Oriole on day 2. But then, when the French driver retired, Sainz found himself moving through up into second place once again.
Oh, watch out.
It was going to be a bittersweet event for Subaru, with Colin McRae's problems, but Sainz working his way up through the order, they were fairly confident of at least one of the cars winning. Sainz was also putting a dismal 1993 behind him. Armin Schwarz was much quicker and much happier on the second day of the rally. He moved up to 3rd place behind the Subarus, therefore humbling the Toyotas and Fords as he did so. The Lancer Evolution still many people believe with a lot of work needing to be done on it. As teammate Ericsson struggled, Schwartz it was who was left to uphold the fortunes of the Andrew Cowan-run team.
Yeah.
Malcolm Wilson briefly made it into the top 3 on day 2, but then he blew a turbo.
Oy,
The team
oy, oy.
faced it, and he blew the replacement. As only 1 turbo could be changed per day,
Huh.
Malcolm struggled to the end of the second leg with a very down-on-power Ford.
Yeah, that's too bad. Spijtig.
Ewa Kankkunen was also struggling on what is regarded as the most bumpy rally of the championship.
Oh, yeah.
He broke the Toyota's rear suspension on the second day, and in so doing, fell to 7th place.
No. It's a rough rally. Het is ruige rally
Royal's
dit.
demise and Kankkunen so far down, this wouldn't help Toyota in the manufacturers' battle, while Ari Vatanen was up into the top 5 by the end of day
Oh,
2 and became the
Lancia.
leading Ford driver.
Op de achtergrond. Lancia on the
Emil Trina
background.
with a
Ah,
1300cc
Skoda.
Skoda, a rugged and reliable car.
Yep.
All this was proving to be beneficial. He'd soon be into the top 10.
Pretty good cars, yeah. You have to give them to them.
And this, the Ford Escort Cosworth of Carlos Menem, the son of the Argentinian president.
Ah, ja.
He was one of the leading protagonists in the Group N showroom category battle.
Oei, oei.
But there was drama at the end of the second leg when Colin McRae, having blocked the stage earlier on, was disqualified for a fundamental anti-sporting act.
Ah.
At a stroke, the Subaru attack was halved.
Yeah, that's too bad, but yeah.
The final day saw Carlos Sainz
Also
move into
understand
the
a
lead
little
after
bit too,
demise of
because,
teammate
yeah,
McRae,
better
and
don't
the
do that.
Spaniard would be able to hang on to that lead and win the Acropolis Rally, his first victory in a Subaru. It also helped him in the championship, while through into an excellent second place came a cautious Armin Schwartz. He'd proved that the Mitsubishi Lancer did have the pace to live with the Subarus, and with development work continuing apace, the car now looked like being a far better proposition than once it was.
Yep. It's going to be better. Het wordt nog beter voor Mitsubishi naar de toekomst. Dat
The
weten
leading
we.
Toyota was that of Ewa Kankkunen, who eventually was able to battle his way up into 3rd place. In so doing, he held the joint lead in the championship with Carlos Sainz.
Hey.
Alex Fiorio with a classic car, the Lancia Delta HF Integrale, proving it's still reliable, but Fiorio admitted to be having to drive it on the limit all the time in order to keep up with the Japanese manufacturers.
Nou.
The leading Ford Escort was Ari Vatanen. He finished a fine 5th on his return to World Championship rallying.
Very good. Heel goed.
As for Malcolm Wilson, he bent the steering rod on the car, and with no service available, he used the jack handle to make temporary repairs. That earned him great praise from the team.
Goed zo. Ja. Smart.
In contrast with the super quick Ford Escort Cosworth, the rugged and reliable 1300cc Skoda battled its way into 9th place in the hands of Emil Trina.
Allee joh. 1300. Leuk.
The car lacked in speed, it made up for in reliability, and here that was very apparent.
Yep. Exactly.
Carlos Menem battled his way home with his Group N Escort Cosworth to win the division. And the burgeoning FIA 2-litre Cup, the Formula 2 section of the event, was won by Nissan, the car driven by the pseudonymed Straticino. But the main talking point of Greece was that Carlos Sainz had won in a Subaru for the first time, being chased home by Armin Schwartz for Mitsubishi and Kankkunen for Toyota. Fiorio took 4th ahead of Ari Vatanen, with their British driver Malcolm Wilson 6th ahead of young Japanese Yoshio Fujimoto. The Skodas of Trina and Sibera were 9th and 10th, Group N going the way of Carlos Menem. Sainz and Kankkunen
look at
jointly
that.
led the championship, 10 points ahead of Didier Auriol, with Biagio Delacour and Duncan.
Ja, it's close. Wordt net. Wordt echt spannend.
The Argentinian rally is one of the most popular on the calendar. Ewa Kankkunen was desperately trying to assert his authority in the championship. He was the first car on the dusty stages and had a steady first day, although not really on the pace of the opposition. Carlos Sainz was here for the first time in a Subaru, a combination now more and more competitive, round by round. He led on the opening day, despite a jammed shock absorber early on. Mickey Biagio with the Ford Escort Cosworth had a poor opening day. He wasn't helped by bad brake balance on the Escort. Didier Auriol lost time after he hit a stone and he put the steering to toe out. Despite the rather wayward handling of the car, he was able to hang on in the top 6.
Mm-hmm.
Behind the Toyota came Ari Vatanen, returning to the scene of his near-fatal accident some 9 years ago.
Yeah.
He was immensely popular with the spectators, and certainly the Finn wasn't overawed by Argentina.
Yeah,
He
but
had the same brake problem as Biaggion, the bias being to the rear of
good
the car
driver,
on the
huh?
opening day of the event. As usual, Colin McRae was quick, he led,
Yeah.
and he went off. He
It's,
understeered his way into a bank, and that damaged the suspension of the car.
maximum
Coupled with
attack.
punctures during the afternoon, he eventually slipped to 6th place at the end of day 1. Bruno Thierry, in contrast, had a smooth, consistent opening day.
Good.
His Escort wasn't going to be a real challenge to Carlos Sainz, who was leading, but nonetheless, Thierry was safe in the top 6. Rudi Stoll, with the reliable Audi, battled his way up into 7th place by the end of the event.
Audi.
The S2 Coupe adding welcome variety. Didier Auriol oversaw the mechanics busily working on his car, and tyre wear was a real worry for most of the teams.
Yeah, I see that.
Encountered by a lot of drivers during the course of the day, but there was a happy feeling in the Subaru camp. Carlos Sainz was leading, and Colin McRae had shown that he too could snatch the lead of the event, despite having gone off and damaged the car. The Subaru of Sainz then continued to lead, as the Spaniard, co-driven by fellow countryman Luis Moya, prepared himself for the afternoon stages. So too did Fabrizio Pons, co-driver to Ari Vatanen. While very worryingly for the Subaru team, this was becoming an increasingly common sight. Colin McRae with a damaged car, retiring from a rally. It was hard to believe that it was 12 months ago that he had won in such commanding fashion in New Zealand.
Yeah, my spectacular.
Up front, Carlos Sainz continued to lead, but he lost 20 seconds to Didier Auriol when he found that the Pirelli Mousse inserts in the tyres affected the balance of the wheels, and the subsequent vibration played havoc with the power steering pump. Auriol again had suspension problems, but he was on the limit all through the stages. He suffered further drama though. Bernardo Celli here, waving his arms around, was having to direct his man by hand signals when the intercom failed. Effectively, Auriol had to drive the stages blind, without the benefit of any pace notes.
Yeah, that is
Despite this, the crew pressed on, using all of the
not
road
that
in their
good.
efforts to close on Sainz.
He's going for it. My.
Jörg Kankkunen had a recurrent misfire all through the second day, and that cost him yet more time and also cost him any chance of victory.
Ja, dat is too bad. Dat is jammer natuurlijk.
It looked as though the championship was now turning sour for Kankkunen and co-driver Nicky Grist.
No, I'm afraid so.
It also seemed as though once again Kankkunen's relatively subdued opening day had cost him any chance at all of winning the event. Certainly the time lost on day 1 meant that he was now too far back from Auriol and Sainz to challenge for a potential win. Bruno Thierry, with his Ford Escort Cosworth, had the rear suspension collapse on the RAS prepared car early on the second day and had to drive for a full stage in that condition before it could be repaired. Mika Biaggion, meanwhile, was struggling to match the pace of the others. The season was now going very badly for the Ford squad. Ari Vatanen was now the top Ford driver, despite a turbo failure, and he was showing no fear at all of this event.
Yes,
good.
I am lucky because I do this stage with no radio with my co-driver. My co-driver gives me the note with a hand and say me second gear, third gear, fourth gear.
Yeah,
But
like the old days, huh?
Very well this stage, and it's a slow stage, so I don't lose time.
With reference to tomorrow's leg, what will happen?
I don't know. I don't know. We see. We try to attack, but sure, it's victory is not here yet. So tomorrow, I think it's a big fight.
No plans, just to go out and see who wins the race.
No plan. Just try to drive full attack, and I hope my car is okay, and I hope the driver is okay also tomorrow.
I think it's going to be an interesting rally. It's interesting last day as well of the rally. We are now 5 seconds difference behind Didier, and we will see tomorrow. It's going to be interesting.
With reference to the Subaru, how is the car for the last stage of the race?
The car is still in one piece. It's good, no problem.
But there were problems for Mickey Bianzion, whose Escort retired with a blown engine.
Aye, too bad. There it goes.
Because I had a problem with the oil in the engine. I lose.
Yes, he was Italian. Yes.
Lost all
Now I
the oil
remember.
in the engine and I had to
He's
stop
Italian,
in the
juist.
middle of the last stage of the day. Okay, this rally has not been so sparkling for me since the start. I was 4th overall, and that was my position. That was better than nothing. Now it's nothing.
The final day, though, will be all about action. Didier Auriol was in the lead, and for 4 times on that final day, the lead changed hands between Auriol and Carlos Sainz. Eventually,
Exciting.
the Toyota driver ended up as the winner by a mere 6 seconds.
It's not that much. Niet
Sainz was
zoveel.
very disappointed to be pushed down into 2nd place, but on the positive side, he now led the championship, and the signs were good for the rest of the year.
Yep.
9 years ago, Ari Vatanen nearly lost his life in a tremendous accident here in Argentina driving the Peugeot 205 T16.
Oh.
Against all
Yep.
the odds, he battled back to fitness and returned to competitive rallying.
Very good.
Here, competing in Argentina for the first time since that accident, he finished in 3rd place despite a flattened exhaust, while Bruno Thierry took 4th despite more broken shock absorbers and road penalties.
Very good, yeah. It's for Harry Vatanen.
As his Escort battled its way to the finish, there was a further sting in the tail.
Oh.
Kankkunen was out. The car had an electrical failure, and that left Didier Auriol as the only Toyota driver to reach the finish in Cordoba.
Yeah, that's got that feeling. Just by the end. Just by the end.
Heartbreak for Kankkunen, but Didier Auriol won by 6 seconds from Sainz ahead of Vatanen, Thierry and Jorge Recalde, the Argentinian driver winning Group N 5th overall. Sainz from Auriol with Kankkunen a further 10 points back in 3rd. Toyota was still leading the manufacturers' battle, Subaru 2nd ahead of Ford and Mitsubishi.
Yes, New
12
Zealand,
months
also
on
pretty
his
good
wheel
rally.
on the New Zealand rally, Colin McRae went back
Wel
to
een mooie
pit
rally om te
lane,
zien,
with a call
New
in his
Zealand.
head ringing in his ears after his disappointment in Argentina. Juha Kankkunen started first, but was soon to find that he was both outpaced and outpsyched by the Subaru of Colin McRae. The young Scotsman came to New Zealand supporting Carlos Sainz's championship hopes, but things weren't quite going to turn out that way.
No, he wants to win.
Opportunity to remind people just how good he was.
Ja, hij wil winnen
Mickey
natuurlijk.
Bianzion was again off the pace in the leading Escort Cosworth. He had it down on power engine, but was far happier on a different note to become the father of a son just the day before the rally started.
Goed.
Armin Schwartz was back for another good finish, the Mitsubishi team having spent a lot of time testing in Wales, although observers wondered why they hadn't utilised their time in the right country. Didier Auriol was to be McRae's nearest challenger on the opening day, the Frenchman 25 seconds off the Flying Scotsman. For McRae, it all looked as though it had been very, very easy. He arrived at the service area in beautiful scenery. The Subaru definitely the car to beat. The New Zealand Rally is one of the drivers' favourites on the calendar. It's run by enthusiastic and very friendly officials, as Derek Ringer was finding out.
Good, no problems, fairly steady. We had problems in the last stage, just too much gravel on the road. Cars behind were getting a bit faster, but that's part of the thing in this rally and some of the stages, so no problem.
Overall, the conditions a bit slippery with the rain, perhaps?
It's actually slightly better for us if the roads are wet, because it tends to keep the gravel down. If it's real dry roads, the gravel comes up to the surface and makes it even slippier than it is when it's wet.
So the plan of attack from here on in, what's the go for Colin McRae?
Sit fairly steady and just try and obviously not lose too much and see what happens.
You were quickest on that first special stage. A good omen for you, perhaps, being back at NZ and defending your title?
Yeah, we will see, yeah.
Kankkunen had lost a lot of time when he had a 180-degree spin with a Toyota. That in itself shouldn't have cost him all that much ground, but the major problem came when he couldn't actually find the room to flip the car around in the right direction again. Carlos Sainz, though, was in even bigger trouble. The Subaru's engine blew on special stage 5, and the Spaniard was out of the rally.
Ja. Well, Colin McRae can go now, full out.
Subaru retired.
Yeah.
FBGgaming was still struggling, his engine down on power. But Armin Schwarz was now involved in a splendid battle for third place with Ari Vatanen. At the moment, the Mitsubishi driver held the upper hand. Didier Auriol had gone off in his Toyota. He lost 2 minutes and fell to third place. In his efforts to fight his way back up through the field, he went off again, and this time he fell to fifth. He couldn't console himself, however, with the knowledge that championship rival Sainz was out. And Ari Vatanen continued to battle with Armin Schwarz for that third place. Young English driver Richard Burns was in one of the only 2 surviving Subarus, although he was unable to match the pace of McRae here in New Zealand for the first time. The early Group N leader had been Jesus Puras, although he would retire, his Escort a long way off the road.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And so too would soon be Burns' Subaru. He ran wide, hit a ditch, which flicked the car across the road, and eventually it plunged out of sight.
Yeah, that's too bad. Unlucky.
Disappointing fashion.
The back wheel just got out of the ruts where the grip is onto the loose stuff. It's about 5th gear coming down the hill here. It dropped into a ditch on the right, flicked it over to the left, and hit a rock fairly well, hard enough to break all the rear suspension and throw us into the ditch here.
Yeah, it happens, unfortunately.
The 1994 New Zealand rally midway through. The opposition just couldn't catch him. In fact, the only real opposition to Colin McRae was Colin McRae. He had to keep his head and keep his cool.
Yeah.
He did so, and he won here in New Zealand for the 2nd year running.
Nice,
it
good.
was an important breakthrough for the Scot, and it also quelled any doubts people may have had about him remaining as a Subaru Works driver. Juha Kankkunen had been flat out all rally long. He'd waited for a mistake from Colin McRae, but it was a mistake that never came. The Toyota driver had to content himself with 2nd position and more points in the championship.
Yeah. It's not that bad, huh? Could be worse. Kon daar
Armin Schwarz eventually won his battle with Ari Vatanen to take 3rd place. He'd had the pace to do it, but he had been held by Vatanen crashing out. The Mitsubishi team were a little disappointed not to be even higher than 3rd, and people were still surprised that they'd gone testing in Wales and not New Zealand. Ari Vatanen was trying his hardest on the final day to snatch that 3rd place from Schwarz, and then it all went wrong.
Oh, pretty big crash, yeah.
The Escort flew off the road and was too badly damaged to continue.
Oh yeah.
There was a brief fire under the bonnet, and although thankfully Vatanen and co-driver Fabrizio Pons were perfectly okay, the Escort was very second-hand.
Too
Fabrizio
bad.
Pons relayed the news, Vatanen was left pondering.
I made a mistake on notes. I changed the note from last year just to keep on the right-hand side of the corner and to go straight, but in fact I should have kept it that you have to actually turn right over. So I came straight into this hump. So it was my mistake making notes to make it too straight. In fact, there is just clearly a right-hand corner, which took me completely in the wrong places, and I went a straight line.
Up into 4th place then came Kenneth Eriksson, and that had been good reward for the Swedish driver, whose car became a 2-wheel drive Mitsubishi on the opening day. Eriksson was able to head past the stricken Escort and know that the crew were perfectly okay.
No.
It was a shame that we weren't seeing more of the Mitsubishi team in the World Championship, because when they were here, they were normally near the pace. Eriksson and Schwarz had both proved that the cars were good, but they just needed a little bit more development and a bit more speed.
Yeah, but they will be good in the future.
And Didier Auriol would finish in 5th place after all his
No
dramas
worries.
and led the championship by 3 points as the series headed away from New Zealand, a rally won by Colin McRae.
Yeah.
Kankkunen took 2nd for Toyota, with the 2 Mitsubishis 3rd and 4th. Auriol was 5th, and in the championship, the Toyota driver now was just able to pull ahead.
Yeah, it's been a very good weekend for us on as far as Colin's concerned. Of course, we did start with 4 cars. People forget that occasionally, but then there's only one place at the end of the day, and Colin's behaved perfectly. Not a mark on the car, impeccable drive.
What happens to the Subaru after this?
Well, we've got Malaysia now, and we're in the lead of the Manufacturers' Championship now in Asia Pacific. The World Championship looks still wide open for Carlos, so it's a lot to fight for the rest of the season, that's for sure.
And Colin McRae was also hopeful that this wouldn't be his only victory of 1994.
Yeah.
The difference, I suppose, at the end is the gap's a lot bigger. With the drive, the last half of yesterday and today, very, very conservatively. Which is just, I think, as difficult as having to drive as flat out to try and win.
Were you surprised by the ease with which you won?
Yeah, I would say so, but I mean, the car's been very, very good, especially on the twisty stages and Moto, and the Pirelli tyres have worked perfectly, so it's been good.
This was how the championship looked. Oriole was
That's pretty close, huh? We did Oriole and Sainz.
Tying for second. Armin Schwartz with 4th, but a good way back.
Toyota
leading a manufacturers' championship as the series moved on to Finland for the Thousand Lakes Rally.
Also a very good rally.
Oriole
Like that
the
rally too.
Was he already thinking of a title? Perhaps 1994 was going to be his year.
Ja, Finland vind ik ook een goede rally. Echt wel. Ook hier van de klassiekers.
No, absolutely no. Because, okay, there's still 3 races and I think can happen everything. So the thing is I just only try to win. So not more pressure, absolutely. I don't, never in my head I think to win the World Championship. So just try to win a rally.
Let's say it's pleasure to drive here once a year because you have all the other rallies around, and then when the Thousand Lakes comes you have a possibility to stay at home, you know, a little bit more, and 3 weeks in Finland at least, and you have all your friends and fans to looking. It's okay, Thousand Lakes for sure, it's fast and difficult rally, so it brings you some extra pressure of course, but at the moment I feel fine.
You are starting with number 1, you are first on the road. Does it mean here anything?
No, it all depends about the conditions. Let's say that when it has been dry, you know, you have the dust and the gravel on the top, so it can be a little slippier in places. But normally when it's raining or the road is damp, number 1 is the best in Finland, because then you can break the road yourself and the grip is the best.
How about the tactics for the Thousand Lakes? Can it be anything else than flat out from the beginning?
Not in this one, no, because this one is so fast straight from the beginning that you have to really start with maximum straight from the first stage. You have no time to think about or wait anything.
Toyota is very close to the manufacturer's title. How important is that compared to the driver's title?
That is the most important thing, of course. That's what we are trying to do, and also we are quite close to the driver's title, so that we will see afterwards. But the main target for us is, of course, the manufacturer's title.
I will try my best. Maybe I was not here for the last 2 years, so it takes a little bit of time to go back in the feeling of the rally. But probably it's a good chance for me to come back here and try to do it again.
Yeah.
Jörg Kankkunen looked the favourite on the opening day, the Toyota Quick, and the local man knowing the stages well.
Oh yes, of course he knows them. Huh.
And then this happened. In a stage that passes near the back of his house, Kankkunen rolled the Toyota and very badly damaged the car. It was able to continue, but he lost an awful lot of time. He did, though, make many new friends as they all helped him to push the car back onto the stage.
Yeah. That's too bad. Oh, yeah, you see, sometimes.
Into the lead then came Carlos Sainz, eager to make up for his New Zealand disappointment, where he went out early on the opening day.
Huh.
And Jörg Kankkunen was able to battle his way through the stage, despite the Toyota falling apart around him.
Ho ho ho,
He
look at
remained
that.
popular with the spectators, though. They cheered him to the echo as he battled his way through a dust cloud.
Damn.
And also out of the rally was Ari Vatanen. His escort had gone off and lost a wheel. Co-driver Fabrizio Pons being expected to perform above and beyond the call of duty. That service of attention surrounded Kankkunen's very badly damaged Toyota. But the question remained, why had he gone off?
Why?
Too wide.
Too fast and too wide, maybe.
then after that you had misfire.
No, the alternator, we ran out of electricity because the alternator belt jumped off. And you know, there was service was not allowed between the stages, so we couldn't do anything there because we didn't have any tools to fix it, but we fixed it on the stage and then we came here.
The high-tech methods of rebuilding Kankinen's Toyota continued, but now Didier Auriol was left to uphold Toyota's fortunes. He was the leading Toyota driver as the rally moved on. Francois Delacour was back in the World Rally Championship despite not being fully fit after that horrendous road accident at the start of the year. It was good to see the French driver returning to the series that many people thought he would have won had he been able to do a full year.
Yeah, who knows? You never know.
It wasn't quite on the pace of Auriol, for example, but certainly it was good to see him back.
Yeah.
Tommy Mäkinen had been driving in Britain in the Nissan Formula 2 car, but here he was replacing Mickey Biasion for the Thousand Lakes Rally. He led briefly on day 1, he then lost the lead to Auriol, but on day 2 he retook the lead and was never headed.
Good. Go Mäkinen. Mac attack.
Also Ford-mounted, as ever, was Bruno Thierry. He was quick, but like Ari Vatanen, would retire after an accident. The Escort looking extremely second-hand.
Yeah. Also a big hit or what?
It was Thierry's only major mistake of the season, and it cost him a chance of a good finish here in Finland.
Ho, ho, ho. Whew. Yeah, that's unlucky.
Kankinen was very disappointed after that accident. He dropped to 76th out of the 77 starters. A real charge was on the cards now. His local knowledge coming into play, and the Toyota was being driven on the limit. The worry was, with all that time lost, surely a win was out of the question.
Sure.
At the front of the field, Tommy Mäkinen was dominating the Thousand Lakes Rally. Driving a four-wheel drive Escort Cosworth for the first time obviously proved to be no handicap. The young Finn easily able to switch himself from Formula 2 Nissans to four-wheel drive Group A Escorts.
Yeah, very good.
Didier Auriol was charging in pursuit. He was driving flat out and obviously had nothing in reserve. And seemingly he had nothing to offer Mäkinen by way of a challenge. The Toyota driver would have to settle for second, it seemed. While Grönholm was going well, he was up to 5th place until he went off. From this angle, it didn't look too bad. The spectators were able to help him back on the road, and Grönholm would continue to an eventual 5th place, despite trailing tape.
Yep. Okay. Back on the road.
But viewed from another angle, and crowd safety once again reared its head.
Yeah, it was close.
In the replay, you can see how close the crowd came to disaster.
Yeah, it was close. Oh my.
So too was Grönholm. Tommy Mäkinen then would win the Thousand Lakes Rally in dominant fashion. A real contrast, the four-wheel drive car compared to the front-wheel drive Nissan.
Very good.
But it was no handicap to the Finn. He hung on and took victory from this man, Didier Auriol, who despite this brief off was able to hang on to that second place, and with it, kept his lead in the championship. With 2 rounds to go after Finland, it looked as though the 94 crown would be Auriol's.
Ja, ik denk zo toe. Denk het ook, ja. Dat het Auriol wordt dit jaar. Allee, en dat jaar.
Carlos Sainz would take 3rd place with the Subaru Impreza. He'd been quick, but not all that spectacular here. 3rd place was enough to keep him in the hunt in the championship, but he was alarmed that Auriol was pulling a little further away.
Ja. Hard to catch Auriol, denk ik. I think.
And Francois Delacour, despite not being 100% fit and limping as soon as he got out of the car, took a fine 4th place.
Oh, okay,
the
pretty
Ford
good.
team had already announced their withdrawal from top-line rallying from 1994 onwards, so Delacour, like all the other Ford drivers, was scratching his head wondering where to go for 95.
Okay.
Marcus Grönholm proved his capability by taking 5th place despite his earlier excursion.
Also a champion from the future.
The Toyota team were pleased with his result, whereas Kankinen had disappointed. 6th in the venerable Mitsubishi Galant VR4 came the experienced Lassi Lampi. He was no match for the quicker cars, but was delighted to be in the top 6, while Kankinen eventually fought his way up into 9th place. Not bad considering he was 76th after that accident.
Yeah, wow. What a comeback actually.
The Belgian driver now far happier with the Opel Astra than he was at the start of the season. While second place went to Alistair McRae, driving the Nissan that Tommy Mäkinen had been seen driving in Britain. Mäkinen was a delighted winner. His first and only appearance of 1994 for the Ford team had ended in a splendid result.
Yeah, my.
Didier Auriol took second for Toyota, just 22
Yeah, but Seppo Hariana as his co-pilot. Yeah,
yeah. And Marcus Gronholm. Thomas Radstrom's Toyota was 7th ahead of Jarmo Kittiletto, who won Group N. Juha Kankkunen was a disappointed 9th.
No.
There were 2 rounds to go in the World Rally Championship, and it was Didier Auriol who led.
Yeah.
Sainz was 2nd, Kankkunen was down in 3rd.
Still tight, but it's looking good for Auriol. Oh yeah, San Remo. Also a pretty good one.
A new car
Okay.
for Juha Kankkunen in San Remo, the high-wing Toyota that he'd driven very successfully in Australia.
No, it's more difficult for sure here, but let's say it was very promising result from the new car there, and we did a lot of kilometers testing there, and I have been testing the car the whole summer, and it has improved a lot, so since that's so interesting to see how it's going here.
And what's the main difference between the new car and the old one?
Everything.
Hmm.
There is not much the same. Let's say it's easier to answer what is the same. The same is the driver and the seats.
And the driver remained as
Nice,
quick as ever.
Kankkunen. Nice.
Francois Delacour was back, and he too was expected to go well here on what is predominantly a tarmac event.
Ah,
he was
yeah.
the first man on the road
Right.
and expected to do exceptionally quick
Not
times.
completely tarmac, eh? Yes.
He was far fitter than he had been for the Thousand Lakes Rally.
Good.
So people were expecting to see the real Delacour once again. Tommy Mäkinen had his second new car in 2 rallies. This time he was driving for Mitsubishi. He would retire though early. Special Stage 5 saw suspension breakage, the exit of Mäkinen.
Yeah, too bad.
Juha Kankkunen with the new Toyota suffered from poor handling on the opening day. But nonetheless, this was all going to be good development for Toyota's 1995 Challenger. It was a rather subdued Colin McRae that came to San Remo, but at least he was keeping out of trouble and being smooth. He wasn't going to be a threat for honours, but he was going to be right up there and fighting. Mickey Bianzion was eager to do well here on his own home ground, and indeed on the opening day had put up a far better performance than at any time during the rest of the season.
Oh. Okay, he's going.
Maybe
Come on.
he was being inspired by 2 more very rapid escorts, the first of them driven by Franco Cunico. Having crashed out in Corsica, he was eager to score a second victory in succession here in San Remo. His car was run by the Jolly Club. Armin Schwarz had a real fight with a very confident Tommy Mäkinen as his teammate here in the Mitsubishis. With Mäkinen's early demise, it was left to Schwarz to uphold the Japanese manufacturer's honour.
Oi, oi.
Didier Auriol, with his battered Toyota, had had a day punctuated by a brief off, but nonetheless he held second place behind early rally leader Carlos Sainz.
Uh-huh.
Bruno Thierry was going well, but he'd been delayed by the massive crowds. As he battled his way to get to the next stage, he was delayed by the enormous number of spectators and got a 30-second road penalty for lateness.
Damn. Too bad.
No troubles at all, though, for Carlos Sainz. The Spaniard, driving on the limit, moved into an early lead. It was one he was going to be very reluctant to relinquish. The second of the Jolly Club escorts was driven by Malcolm Wilson, who by now was the British Rally champion. He was equal third with Bianzion on the opening day. With the unfamiliar Martini-liveried escort having gone through, it was on to the next stage.
Hoopla.
Carlos Sainz was once again driving at 100%. In fact, sometimes it appeared he was driving over the limit. This, the proof.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Woo.
The Subaru running out of road and clobbering a bank. Thankfully, he was able to rejoin, and the time lost was minimal.
Yeah, good, because could be much worse.
The battered Subaru continued. Although Carlos Sainz wouldn't be quickest on this stage, he maintained his lead. Malcolm Wilson, a tremendous showing. As on last year's RAC rally, he was up to third. Bruno Thierry was in 5th place ahead of Colin McRae, and his Escort 2 was going better than the other works cars driven by Biasion and Delacour. Biasion was tumbling down the order, and Delacour would retire on special stage 11 with engine failure.
Too bad.
That was a great blow to the French driver, and it left Didier Auriol as the leading Frenchman now.
Yeah.
He was in 2nd place behind Carlos Sainz, and just as in Argentina, he was set for a battle royal between the two of them.
Yeah, nice.
While he was running, Delacour was spectacular, but on the 11th stage of the event, the engine finally gave up the ghost and he retired. Biasion briefly headed the forward fight.
Too bad, damn
The
it.
engine, though, hit problems. He dropped out of his 3rd place battle with Thierry and Wilson and slipped down the order. Armin Schwarz was on his last World Championship appearance of the season, and really, it had only been the drivers that had helped the Mitsubishis get so far up the order, the car still being short on development. Schwarz will drive for Toyota in '95. Colin McRae wasn't really showing the same rapid pace that had become normal. He maintained a good position in the top 10, but one interesting comment emerged from Dave Richards during the event, which was that there were going to be no team orders on the RAC rally.
Okay, yeah.
Kankkunen had to run on asphalt spec diffs on day 2. It's better than nothing, he said, but it didn't really help progress in the new Toyota with its very wide track. On to the final day with Carlos Sainz still leading,
now it's star mark,
but behind
yes.
him, Didier Auriol was mounting one of his famous charges. That was a worry to Sainz, and so too was the fact that he developed a misfire, possibly fuel-related, as that misfire was worse on right-hand corners.
Too bad, yeah.
Auriol was really flying now. He closed the gap from 1 minute and 13 seconds to 45 seconds to 38 seconds to 21 to 10, and then Auriol was through into the lead, eventually to win by just 21 seconds.
Very good, my.
If Sainz was
Impressive.
disappointed, Auriol was elated. He would go to the RAC rally with an 11-point advantage in the championship. Mickey Biasion eventually fought his way back up the order and finished in a fine 3rd place. He'd been helped in part by other Fords having problems, and 2 more drivers suffering dramas on the final day. The first of them was Malcolm Wilson. He would go off the road, and while co-driver Brian Thomas ran off to go and get more help, Wilson tried to get the car back on the stage. He did so, and then set off, trying to work out where Thomas had got to.
Whoops.
Wilson had to drive round 3 corners before he eventually found his breathless co-driver, and the time lost in getting the car back on the road had been 8 minutes. It dropped Malcolm Wilson down to 9th.
Yeah, too bad.
Up then moved Bruno Thierry. The Belgian driver would finish in 4th place. All season long he'd been impressive. He had 1 more rally to go. A relatively unspectacular performance by Colin McRae meant that he finished in 5th place at the end. But
Yeah,
this
but
had been
same
an important
drive.
event for him. He hadn't made any mistakes, and he'd proved that he could be conservative. Kankkunen used the rally as a good test session for the Seneca. He finished in 7th place overall. He, like Biasion, was helped by 2 drivers having problems on that final day. The first of those 2 drivers, Wilson, we know about, but the second driver to hit problems was Armin Schwarz with the Mitsubishi. The young German driver had 2 rear punctures on the last day, and then on the next road section, the fuel line ruptured.
Oh.
What should have been a gentle drive between stages turned out to be a nightmare for Schwarz. As soon as that fuel line ruptured, the car ignited and eventually became a crisp. His rally was over, and so too was the life of the car.
Yeah, my. Whew. Yeah, pretty
The
intense.
Formula 2 battle went the way of Alistair McRae, once again showing that the Nissan Sunny GTI is now a match, if not quicker than, the regular Formula 2 winning Vauxhall Astra. 23rd came Paolo Andreucci with his Renault Clio. Isolde Holderried with the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution not only won the ladies section of the rally, but also the FIA Ladies Cup Championship, partnered by Tina Turner, who'd sat next to Louise Aitken-Walker in her championship-winning year. Second in Group N for Jesus Puras was enough to keep his lead in the championship, and he would go to the RAC rally, battling with Isolde Holderried.
Okay, look at that, yeah.
Toyota from Subaru, from 2
Nice.
Fords from the second Impreza. 6th was Kuniko ahead of Kankkunen in 7th, with Wilson dropping to 9th and Jorge Vica's Lancia rounding out the top 10. With just one more round in the championship to go, Didier Auriol had extended his lead over Carlos Sainz, and he was a delighted winner in San Remo. There were 11 points between the two championship protagonists. With
well, look at that.
It's the championship was heading to Britain, and the Network Q RAC Rally, with the World Rally Championship going down to the wire.
Yep.
The Battle of Britain started in slippery and wet conditions on the Sunday. Kankkunen was the first man on the road. He wasn't going to be able to win the championship, but what he could do was support Didier Auriol. Carlos Sainz had trouble at Chatsworth when he went into a water splash with enough force to damage the radiator by pushing bodywork onto it. The radiator needed replacing later on, but Auriol was in trouble right from the word go. He clipped a rock here near the water splash and damaged the suspension and the front wheels.
He too bad. Oh, look at that.
Stage, and he dropped down into 80th place.
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
Clipping the rock, launching himself wide, and then dropping into the water
Wait,
splash at a lot.
we'll do it again. Wait.
Limped out of the Chatsworth stage.
We will see it.
Down into 80th
Here,
place.
there, well, there it is. Oh, yeah.
Clipping the rock,
Big
launching
hit.
himself wide, and then dropping into the water splash did a lot of damage to the Celica. It looked as though Auriol's championship chances were over. He limped through the stage, knowing full well that Sainz was escaping up front. But the next 3 days would prove to be very exciting.
Yep.
On special stage 3 of the 29, Colin McRae took the fastest time and moved into the lead of the event. It was a lead he wasn't to lose. Francois Delacour, in contrast, was quickest at Harewood when he cut the course, something for which he was disqualified at the end of leg 1. The British champion Malcolm Wilson was competing again, this time in his regular British Championship car. At Clumber Park, he would find himself with a lot of debris in the radiator and in the cooling ducts. To find out why, we go on board with Wilson and co-driver Brian Thomas.
Oh boy. Oh, oh, oh. Oh. Yeah. Too bad. It's not that bad, but yeah.
At over 100 miles an hour, that slide left Wilson looking a little bit shaken. But
Yeah.
not half as shaken as Will Hoy, former British touring car champion, out on only his second ever rally, co-driven by Mike Corner in a Group N Toyota.
Oh man, so bumpy. Oh, oh. Oh, that was fast. That was. Whoa, let me see that again.
Co-driven
Look.
by Mike Corner in a Group N
Look how
Toyota.
fast. Then, oh, you're thinking, oh, damn. At once, of course, yeah. Did not expect it at all.
In replay, the
Yeah,
car
look
hit
at
some
that.
bumps and launched itself off the stage
Yeah.
towards the trees.
Oh.
And the tree won.
Yeah, the 3-1, of
Out
course.
on just stage 4. On the second day of the rally, Auriol started badly. He rolled the car and damaged it, and then leaving this water splash, the car ground to a halt. It took Auriol a lot of time to get the car restarted, and he did so eventually, only with the help of some of the thousands of marshals on the RAC.
Oh man, too bad. Oh,
Up front, Colin McRae was leading and pulling away.
oh yeah, full attack. He's going for it. Look
He
at
was
that.
becoming a little bit
Hoppa.
like New Zealand. McRae was McRae's only opposition, and although he was going fast, he was going flat out. He didn't need to. Service for Auriol, very important because not only was the car damaged, but a turbo would also blow on the second day. Bruno Thierry had a full worked Borum escort for the first time this season. It was his first
Good.
rally on mainland Britain, having only briefly competed on the Isle of Man in the past, but he was immediately on the pace. Stig Blomqvist, the Swedish champion, was also being seen on a World Championship outing for the first time, and reminding people why he was World Champion in 1983.
Yeah, a veteran, but still good.
Remains popular with the British spectators, and he too was going well on an event that he'd won 10 years before.
Oh, unbelievable.
Jörg Kankkunen was now in second place and involved in a battle royal with Carlos Sainz. Kankkunen and Grist were on the limit as they tried to keep the Toyota ahead of the Subaru until this happened.
Oh no, oh, oh. Oh, man, look at that. Whew. Get out of the way. Voila, he's going. Nice. Pretty big hit. Ho, 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 ho. Look at the car. Oh.
And most of the lights, and they had to drive through the second of the Grisdale stages virtually in the dark.
Oh yeah. Yes, of course. Whew, yeah.
Carlos Sainz, though, was in second place and well clear of Didier Auriol, although Auriol was now moving back up through the leaderboard. The question of team orders came into play. Would Colin McRae be asked to pull over and allow Sainz to win the rally, thereby making sure of the world title? Spectators decided to help. They placed logs on one stage in front of Sainz, who went off in avoidance. A stage later, he lost control, he lost concentration, he lost the championship.
Damn it. So...
With the Subaru off in a ditch, the spectators now decided to help him. It was ironic. The championship had started in Monte Carlo with the spectators throwing snow onto the road, catching out McRae and Schwartz, and spectators would in a way help determine who was world champion by placing logs in the middle of the road.
No.
Sainz had to avoid them at over 160 kilometers an hour. It could have been a very big accident, and somebody somewhere should be very ashamed.
Yes, of course. Terrible.
That meant that Didier Auriol would be world champion, while Bruno Thierry continued to go all out in his Ford Escort. He was on target for a finish in the top 3. Stig Blomqvist was also going well, moving his way up into 4th place. While Malcolm Wilson, who desperately wanted to improve on his 1993 3rd place results, went off on the final day and had to retire.
Yeah, too bad.
Ari Vatanen would take 5th, co-driven by Fabrizio Pons. Still no win for Vatanen, but he remained ever popular with the British fans. And this the moment that Didier Auriol knew he was champion. He passed the stricken Subaru of Sainz and Moyer, which eventually returned to the stage, but they lost 34 minutes, and with the championship gone, Sainz called it a day at the next service area. And so, with 16 World Championship wins to his name, Didier Auriol would win the championship for the first time in 1994. The season had started badly for him, crashing out in Monte Carlo, but all in all, it had been a good year. Formula 2 here went the way of Gwyneth Evans, with the Gordon Spooner-prepared Ford Escort RS 2000. That car being seen on a World Championship round for the first time. The Welshman had battled long and hard with this man, Tommy Mäkinen, who eventually threw the Nissan at the scenery.
Oh.
This accident happened within sight of Gwyneth Evans' house. It cost Mäkinen the lead of the Formula 2 division, although he would be able to continue.
Yeah, too bad. Aye.
A splendid 8th was Jan Harbig, who despite a brush with spectators on one stage, was able to do exceptionally well on his first rally with a turbo car, with a Group A car, and on pace notes, not to mention being in Britain. And this was Mäkinen. Despite all the damage, despite no screen, he was the quickest Formula 2 car on this stage. Into 10th place came Gregoire de Mavius, and that was enough to give General Motors Europe the Formula 2 crown by just 1 point.
Okay, good job.
As ever by the British Formula 2 king David Llewellyn. He had a rather lacklustre first day, but then Llewellyn started to fly. He finished 11th, while Jesus Puras won the Group N championship, although Englishman Johnny Milner won the Group N section on the RAC. But the hero of the hour was Colin McRae. He'd won in commanding fashion by 3 minutes and 33 seconds from Kankkunen, Bruno Thierry 3rd ahead of Blomqvist and Vatanen, both in Ford Escort Cosworths. Into 6th place at the finish came Auriol, enough to give him the title, while Evans won Formula 2 from Mäkinen and de Mavius was 3rd, 10th overall.
Yeah, okay. Am I?
Didier Auriol, the first Frenchman to win the World Rally Championship. He did so by taking 6th place on the Network Q RAC Rally. General Motors Europe won Formula 2.
Yeah, look at that.
Puras won Group N, and Isolde Holderried won the Ladies Award. Sainz was disappointed not to be champion, but Toyota were delighted with their manufacturer's crown, with Skoda just 1 point adrift of the Formula 2.
Oh, that's it. That was fast. Okay, did not expect that, but okay. Yeah, it's good. That's it. Voila. Voila. Okay, that's it. Was a good stream, looking at the rally, why not? I will try to improve next time, more reaction, but okay. It's the first one in my life that I'm doing this, so yeah, reacting in a video like that, so give me some time and I will improve, so yeah. Okay, so thank you and I see you all next time. Voilà, dat was het, ja. Het gaat toch al wel niet zo slecht. Ik heb totaal niet zo veel ervaring met het reageren van zo'n video's, dus daarmee dat het misschien vandaag toch niet zo super goed was, maar oké, ik ga proberen te verbeteren voor de volgende keer. Dus ja, komt wel goed hoor, komt wel in orde. Dus ja, bedankt allemaal en tot ziens. next week, next Sunday, and hopefully 1995 World Championship we will react. Thank you, bye bye. Volgende week zal ik dan ook reageren op volgende zondag dan op de 1995 wereldkampioenschap rally. Goed? Dus bedankt en tot ziens. Bye bye.